The next thing, and this is the part that lots of people leave out, from inner riches and inner awareness and the aliveness of what's going on within us, the next pillar is inner structure. And that's what we talk about when we talk about capacity and bandwidth. We're going to look at the architecture of ease because it's the system that I've come up with, combining, first of all, my own work and then the work of a lot of people out there that actually mentor me. And they all do different things. And I realized nobody does it all in one. So I decided to combine all of these things. I'm specializing on capacity in this whole thing, but it's always with the whole arch. So the first thing that we start with is inner work. We're how do I say this? We're mostly about inner work in the course that we usually do. We're about asking questions that allow us to lead an aware life, an awakened life, a conscious life. We ask about what's the motivation behind what we do. We ask about why have we chosen this particular identity. We ask about the different perspectives that we could have onto one and the same thing. These are the questions that we constantly live in. And what we're adding in the first pillar of the architecture of ease is the transparency of knowing ourselves and the not only the understanding, but the inner standing, the embodied understanding of what we're actually doing here, how we've been programmed, how we can get out of being, how we can reprogram ourselves. There's always some automatism running. There's always some program running. The question is it a program that we have inherited? Or is it a program that we have deliberately chosen and trained ourselves into? And are we constantly furthering our own programming? Or are we just functioning by the rules of society? And that is called, to be aware of that is called metacognition. Simple enough. That is the first pillar of the architecture of ease. That is what we're mostly on about in these calls. The next thing, and this is the part that lots of people leave out, from inner riches and inner awareness and the aliveness of what's going on within us, the next pillar is inner structure. And that's what we talk about when we talk about capacity and bandwidth. Do I have an inner structure to have all these questions answered and hold them and hold myself in these questions? Or do I implode? Do I bypass all the coping mechanisms that we have? For example, let me come back to the question that I currently live in. Can I go on holiday on a level like this while fully trusting that everybody I work with will not judge me because I decided to leave for 2 weeks? Suddenly, very impromptu. So it's funny how I have created this belief bind. The belief bind that I've been holding is that to live a life on that level, on that high standard, I have to constantly be available for the most important clients that I have. I've connected these things. They're totally independent. One is being available for clients that are important. The other one is have a fantastic holiday. Somehow my subconscious has tied these two together as a none is possible. Like you can either choose this or that, but you can't combine them. And the combination that I have chosen to practice is holding bliss. And it's not, the word bliss is something that triggers a lot of people, or some people love it. It's just bliss is nothing exciting. Bliss is just the feeling of peaceful expansion. Can I peacefully expand while I am not fully present for everybody else that really counts on me? These are people who are trusting me with if I say $1 million decisions, it's not a joke, it's not a metaphor. It's not that I decide for them, they decide totally themselves. But I am the person who is making the things like I mirror them so they can see themselves better and they can embody and they can be more responsible in their decisions. And when we have this desire and we have a growth edge there and we understand, oh, this doesn't come easy, this is a challenge, this is what we're currently practicing. The reason why it's not easy is we don't have the capacity for it. Because, for example, actually staying in joy and ease, I'm taking this now as a super quick example because it's so, everybody knows that. So if you want to have the bandwidth to actually stay in expansion, whatever the expansion is that you've just defined, the reason why we're not there is because we don't have the bandwidth, we don't have the capacity, so we can train this. And training capacity and training bandwidth can be done with totally different things than we're currently doing. It doesn't have to be exactly in that topic. So, for example, it doesn't have to be the case to stay in that feeling, but it's a good way to go about it. It's one example. For example, if you say, okay, do I still have the integrity or the freedom to be in my essence when I've taken this particular position? I'm going to share something with you that I've taught my daughter yesterday. She was, that's really about, hello guys. It's really about, it's a very simple thing. She's 14 and she can do it. So she was on her headphones with her audiobook and she just found out about Sudoku. I don't know if anybody else does this still, but I know that old people do it. And obviously teenagers do it nowadays. So she started to do that. And she's sitting here for like hours doing her thingies and listening to an audiobook. And she told me, it's like, it makes me so happy. I'm just in this and it's so beautiful. And I was like, oh, that's a mind flow, darling. A mind flow is that your thoughts are so happy that you can stay there for hours. And she looked at me and said, you say it like it's something bad. And I said, no, it's gorgeous, but you forgot your body. You guys know when you're working on something and it totally excites you and you're on this forever. And then at some point you realize you haven't slept or eaten for hours. You haven't moved. You just sat there and suddenly you realize, my God, I'm totally low blood sugar, super tired. Everything is stiff. That's when you got lost in the mind flow. And what I taught her yesterday is I said, okay, so you have these 9 numbers and 0 in the Sudoku game. And I said, what's your favorite number? And she said 9. I said, okay. And what would which feeling do you want to associate the number 9 with? And she said, safety. I was like, okay, every time you mark the number 9 in one of these things, you feel safety in your body. That's how you integrate your body into your mind flow. And I gave her 3 others and said, you don't have to put an emotion to every single number. That's kind of quite complex and complicated. I said, okay, pick 3 or maybe 4. And she had safety and she had bliss and she had freedom and she had the trust, the feeling of trust that everything is fine. And this is how she integrated her body in the mind flow. And this is building capacity. So that's just one example I'm giving you. And what you can do now is if there's something, I am a big numbers person. I see numbers and synchronicities all the time. I don't know if somebody else is a big numbers person or somebody else is paying attention to synchronicities. But if there's anything that you pay attention to that you love, maybe it's colors. Maybe it's some kind of music where you're like, oh my God, if you shuffle your playlist and when that song's coming on, you just love it. And you're like, yeah, that's my thing. It's just something that you experience that catches your awareness almost like into the metacognition, but you're not fully in your everyday la 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 functioning, but you're like, ha, this is I don't want to say a sign, but this is something that is having me or that always catches my attention. Just attach something to it that you want to embody. Just the moment you see it, let it remind you of that feeling and feel it in your body. This is training capacity. And capacity training is the most important thing that we need to do if we want to manifest. But you can find the things that you experience in your life that are repeating themselves and attach a really good feeling to it and actually feel it. Not just think, oh, joy, or oh, trust, or whatever the emotion is that you want to have with what you want to manifest here, but you want to really feel it. And it's a bit easier to feel that piece if you actually know where it sits in the body. So the task for you here is whatever you want to manifest that you're currently feeling resistance with, or feeling a growth edge, feeling a challenge with. Usually we would go for where's the challenge sitting in your body? But now we switch this around. Where is the beautiful feeling that you want to manifest in your body? Where is it? Whatever it is that you have there, can you put this in the chat? Where in your body is the good feeling? So I'm summing this up. The first pillar is the inner riches, what we usually talk about a lot. The second pillar is the inner structure, building bandwidth, building capacity, moving ourselves into the place that we want to embody via feeling it and flooding our system with that good feeling. Which means if you know where it's at home, you can also breathe there for a minute. That's building bandwidth. That's building capacity. How does capacity get tested? By situations where you do things that you want to do for the first time and it doesn't feel comfortable. All right. So first pillar, inner riches. Second pillar, capacity. Third pillar, capacity means inner structure. Third pillar, outer structure. Outer structure is systems, automations, and any kind of tools that you can apply, something tangible, something you can show, something you can like, what's a typical outer structure? Outer structure is a daily routine. For example, I don't know, you journal, you jog, you have 3 glasses of hot water before you have your first coffee. That's structure, outer structure. This is what keeps things in place when you're wobbly. When your inner capacity is not there because you're being tested from 3 sides, like life is sometimes feeling, then you want to have structure. That structure is stuff that you don't have to think about. I don't think you think about brushing your teeth every morning and having your first coffee, tea, whatever you drink. This is something that's automated, and it gives you the sense of being right in the world. So whatever your outer structure is, building outer structure is the second big thing that makes you shift your inner riches into abundance, because the architecture of ease is only about creating abundance for the sake of being impactful, for the sake of contributing more. You guys are here because you want to contribute. You want a fantastic life from which you can contribute. The architecture of ease is the scaffolding for that. And the ease doesn't come from hustling. That's not easy. The ease comes from from the consistency, one of my favorite words, of constantly nourishing yourself, as in, this is my growth edge. How can I foster this? This is my, let's say, business project, whatever it is you're currently doing with your purpose. What can I do so I don't have to constantly be present? Okay, so we had inner structure, inner riches. We had inner structure, aka bandwidth, capacity. We have outer structure. That's your automations, your routines, the things that happen automatically. And with the difficulty that some of them are not automated enough, that we lose them and we actually say hands off. They're maybe automated within us, but they are not automated as a standalone structure. And then the fourth pillar is emergence. And emergence means there's two kinds of emergence. The real emergence is human emergence. You know, when you talk with somebody, when you sit and you talk with somebody and somebody has like a spark, and then you pick the spark up and something happens and you're upward spiraling and something beautiful, an idea is coming to life that you could have never thought of by yourself. Co-creation in its beauty. That's actually emergence. And emergence in business and in life can only happen when you have the other things in place. Because you can have a fantastic idea, even together, you know, emergence happens when you have a conversation, but nothing comes of it if you don't know if it's fully aligned with your essence, inner riches, if you don't have the bandwidth and the capacity to actually hold this fantastic idea, but you don't feel worthy of really doing it. Fantastic idea, but you don't feel you have the resources, the time. Fantastic idea, but you don't feel like la la la. Reason. Capacity needs to be there. And then outer structure needs to be there. Fantastic idea. Am I actually able to be self-employed? What do I need to do? I don't know about taxes. I don't know about the law in Austria or wherever you're at home. That is outer structure. So you see, we're talking about how to scale your impact at the moment. The fourth pillar is emergence. And what is actually scaffolding your emergence is, ta-da, artificial intelligence, because that helps you scale emergent, like expansively. It's super fast. It's super, like, the thing is, the problem with AI is if you don't scale from your essence, your inner riches, if you don't have the bandwidth to hold it, if you don't have the outer structure to hold it, and you start to apply AI to your projects, you scale all the crap that you haven't been aware of. You know, you scale everything. You also scale your shadow. For example, let's say visibility. You have a project and you find it fantastic and you use AI to be much faster with it. And then you realize, oh my God, I'm so fast now. This is done, but I haven't created a visibility strategy. How am I going to attract people to this? Or you have used AI to create beautiful Instagram posts, but you have not yet a product offering. You have not created a container where people can actually buy this, stuff like that. You know, AI might give you a fantastic advantage in one lane, but if you have not considered all of them, you're kind of bypassing something and then you're not successful. You just either you've talked about a lot of stuff that you can't offer, or you have created a lot of offers, but you don't have visibility. This is just one example to give you. But the fourth pillar, the emergent pillar, is fantastic idea going super fast into everything with AI. And if you don't have the first three, nothing happens. There is so many fantastic ideas out there, and everybody is selling you. Talk about Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, X, any kind of medium social media that you're present with. Everybody's trying to sell you the super fast success. AI, what is it, endorsed, basically. If you don't have the capacity to hold it, you might even make $1 million, euros, whatever, in 3 weeks. But you don't know where to put it. How do you're going to lose it super fast again because you don't have the capacity to hold it. So you either spend it or you realize that the offer you've created, you can't deliver. You have to give the money back, etc., etc. There's so many stories out there how hard it is to actually do what these people promise on the one hand. And if you're one of the lucky ones who actually gets there, it's really hard to hold it. That's why statistically, I don't know how many, but it's like 2 or 3 or maybe 5% of people who win the lottery actually keep that level, keep that standard. Usually they just come back to where they've always been. And the fifth thing that you want to add on top of that is the visibility thing. But that's something that's not really the fifth, it's more like in between of the all of the others. Because let me explain this a bit to you, because it's a bit it's not, it doesn't work like the other pillows. It's it's almost like I said earlier that you really want to be seen. Every human being really wants to be seen, but not the first time you're doing something. The first time you want to do it just for, you want to try, you don't want to be witnessed in your trial and error. So visibility is something you want to be really careful about. And careful doesn't mean um, timid. It just means super aware. What do you want to show? Just, you want to show something. There's a ground rule. Don't show things that you're not yet happy with. Don't show things that you feel like, don't fake it till you make it. That's like the most stupid thing that people can tell you as an advice. Because you can't fake frequency, and frequency is what manifests. So visibility is always applicable by like in all the pillars that we spoke about, but it's not necessarily, it's not necessarily the most important thing. It's just something that you don't want to build something, a project, a life. You want to have impact, so you want to be seen in what you do. Otherwise, you're not going to have impact. You'll have impact on yourself. That's it. But be super aware when to show what. And just as a ground rule, if it feels 70% okay and 30% not, that's enough. 70% certainty to commit 100% to doing this. And that's beautifully applied to visibility.